I've got something came over the news desk, Brian. I know this is your show, but you may want to say I got the report right here, and I came over the teletype. You may want to weigh in on this because this is business related, and you got the business mind here. I'm just a small town bird lawyer, a layman in these things. But it's come out recently now in court documentation as a result of Kevin Kelly's lawsuit that has been filed and the other plaintiffs similarly situated, as they say, against AEW. And Stephen P. New, of course, is handling the charge on that one. But apparently AEW is owned by Maynard G. Krebs.
Well, no. Maynard G. Krebs got lost on an island and he was never seen again.
Oh, so somebody else is running the company now.
What an idiot. The guy took on an alias and then he went on a boat and he never came back. Fooled no one.
Well, you know what the thing is the Social Security Administration couldn't find him because he didn't have a full name. But anyway, what I'm talking about, for those of you uninitiated.
For those of you who don't watch Dobie Gillis.
Well, who among us doesn't watch Dobie Gillis? Seriously. Dwayne Hickman was a goddamn sex symbol.
Okay, now you're going crazy.
But anyway,
sex symbol.
Well, he was the best-looking young man on television in 1959. But Maynard G. Krebs stole the show anyway.
What about Kookie Burns?
Lend me your comb.
Ed Burns.
Yes, Ed Cookie Burns, Kookie, on 77 Sunset Strip. Yeah. But anyway, did you hear my finger snaps? I think my sound audio muting is on again, filter.
I kind of heard it a little bit. In my head, I heard it.
Yeah, see, folks, he's trying to filter me because he said I sounded loud. So we're playing with this thing. Anyway, what I'm saying is,
yeah,
in this here lawsuit and this documentation that's been filed in court in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, AEW All Elite Wrestling LLC states that its parent corporation is Beatnik Investments LLC. And do we have to ask the kids to Google the word Beatnik? And this is spelled B-E-A-T.
Yeah, Daddy-O.
Yeah, N-I-C-K, but actually the way you spell Beatnik, I believe, is just N-I-K. The true Beatniks. But nevertheless, kids, Google the word Beatnik, but they were the hippies of the 50s. Or watch Little Shop of Horrors.
What?
The original. No, seriously.
That came out of nowhere.
Well, it's set in the Beatnik world.
I guess if that's the best example you could think of on film.
Well, I like it. Anyway, why are they Beatniks, Brian? Who in the Khan family are Beatniks to own not Beatnik Enterprises, Beatnik Investments LLC?
Well, it's an interesting thing here, and I'm trying to pull up an article or two or three. I'm trying to see what I could pull up. There's all sorts of things to pull up here.
Well, why don't you pull on up and let me just say this. It also revealed, here's another detail while you're pulling on whatever you're pulling on. It says the parent company of All Elite Wrestling is Beatnik Investments, and no publicly held corporation owns 10% or more of its stock. That's not a revelation in terms of, we were wondering about Turner Broadcasting or WBD's involvement, but if they get a percentage of revenue through their deals, that wouldn't necessarily mean they own stock. But you're the business guy. Help me out. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, I have here, WrestleNomics did a pretty good write-up of the lawsuit. Again, we've talked about it in previous clips. They're on YouTube. For instance, right here, a Jacksonville local media report from 2022 indicated that Beatnik Investments was used by Shad Khan, the billionaire owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars and father of Tony and Shanna, to invest over $76 million in the Black News Channel. Beatnik owned the majority.
Now what?
Well, let me finish this. Beatnik owned the majority of the channel until it was sold to media businessman Byron Allen following Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So there was a Black News Channel. Either he started it or Shad Khan was an investor in it, but actually the investor was Beatnik Investments, and according to what WrestleNomics has here, Florida Public Records confirmed that Beatnik Investments is an active limited liability company in Florida, established in 2017. The authorized members are Tony Khan and his sister Shanna Khan, while Thomas Clarkson is listed as an authorized representative, though his exact role remains unclear. He may be a financial manager. Also, Chris Jericho just trademarked Thomas Clarkson. AEW LLC, All Elite Wrestling LLC, actually to be exact, is also incorporated in Delaware and recognizes Beatnik Investments LLC as its parent company. So, less than 10%. So they don't have to disclose, again, they don't have to disclose anything with that. But it's a company that's in the name of Tony and his sister that's been used by their father, who in the past has admitted his whole thing is just to give the kids all the money right now, let them have their inheritance and have their fun and buy their wrestlers or whatever it may be. It was used for their benefit.
So they spent $76 million. Why I gasped is I thought you were going to say Black Entertainment Television, BET, or I've never heard of Black News Channel. So apparently there's a reason they went bankrupt after spending $76 million.
Well, I'm pulling up something right now. Black News Channel, BNC, was an American paid television news channel targeting the African American demographic. The channel was based in Tallahassee, Florida, and launched on February 10, 2020. The station was co-founded by television executive Bob Brillante and former Congressman J.C. Watts, who was also the network's chairman. The network filed for bankruptcy in March of 2022 and was purchased by Byron Allen's Entertainment Studios. It was merged into the Griot. Trying to see where Shad Khan or Beatnik. Is he the Beatnik? Or are they the Beatniks?
I'm not, well, they are too young to be Beatniks, but I didn't know if Shad didn't appear to be a Beatnik when he had the goddamn flourishy mustache and everything. He appeared to be a very well-groomed fellow.
Should they bring in Nick Nemeth as Beatnik? Make a feud with Hologram or something?
Well, now here's good job, guy. Fucking knock, by the way. But
the launch of one more thing. The launch of the network was announced in November 2018 for 2019. The launch date was pushed from November 15th, 2019 to January 6, 2020, before being pushed again to its eventual launch date, February 10th, 2020. One of the chief investors in the network is Jacksonville Jaguars owner Shad Khan. In July 2020, former CNN executive Princell Hare was named president and CEO of Black News Channel. In March 2021, BNC reached an agreement with CBS Media Ventures to handle advertising sales. That same month, they launched a revamp. And then between December 2021 and March 2022, over 120 members of the network staff were either dismissed
oh, geez.
or voluntarily departed from BNC. During the network's first 2 years of operation, BNC suffered persistently low viewership, according to Nielsen estimates. In 2021, oh my God, in 2021, the network ranked 123rd out of 124 cable originators.
Oh, good God.
Wow.
But who was 124?
An average viewership of 4,000 viewers per program.
In the entire country?
In the entire world, I guess, technically.
In the entire, oh, geez.
But if we're going by cable, the entire country.
Well, so, but nevertheless, what I was about to go with there, before we found out how much money they lost on shit before, was that Some people are saying this implies that WBD might not doesn't have has less than 10% of AEW if it has some, and we've pretty well figured out it has some arrangement, some deal, some piece of, as they used to say in wrestling. But would there be an exchange of stock, or would it be the agreements of splitting advertising revenue, pay-per-view revenue, whatever the fuck? Because we talked about that as if they're more involved in the pay-per-views and they're going to be given discounts for those and etc. Is it just as simple as, yeah, we get like in the old days, if you went to the TV station in Pittsburgh and said, I'm going to run a Civic Arena, and if you'll put my TV show on, then I'll give you 10% of the gate. Because that was a deal that was done in wrestling for years and years on a much larger and more complicated scale. Would there necessarily be ownership of the company itself? Because would that introduce Warner Brothers Discovery into liability if they ever get sued because somebody breaks their neck or they land on some fan? Without ownership, they would be much less tied legally to an upstart wrestling promotion started by a bunch of beatniks. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, and again, their interest could also just be whatever you do while you're working with us, we have a piece of. And that's still significant. And that's, not, they own AEW. AEW, according to this, at a minimum, 90% is owned by the Beatniks. Beatnik Investments, LLC. What else is Beatnik Investments invested in? That's what I'd like to know. What does Tony think about being partners with his sister? I mean, there's an angle we've never heard before. Shad Khan isn't listed as one of the people in charge of Beatnik or a beneficiary of Beatnik. He has just supplied it with capital. It's all about Tony and his sister and, whoever this financial advisor is or financial whatever he is.
Well, maybe he's Cadbury. And
keep an eye on the kids. Please keep an eye on the kids, Thomas.
But here's the thing. Maybe it's just here, this entity, Beatnik Enterprises or Beatnik Investments, LLC, is the entity that we've got set up. And here's my corporate bean counter, old Thomas Clarkson over here. He's going to make sure y'all don't do anything fucking too illegal or insane and too far. And I'll put the money in it for, what's his sister's name? Shayna, you want to invest in the news channel? Or, Tony, you want to do the wrestling? I'll put the money in there and Thomas will, make sure it all works. Is that the deal?
I don't know. That's the question.
Well, maybe this suit will be bringing more of that to light in a public fashion like this in filings from the court when they delve into the independent contractor status of versus employee and working conditions. And I've been made to understand, I still don't understand it, but I've been made aware that most people think that the working conditions in a wrestling promotion today are somewhat behind the times, barbaric, or technically illegal with the laws of the land. And they weren't even around 40 or 50 years ago. Their heads would have burst into flames. So I would like to see, with that old Carlin routine, I want to see mayhem and chaos and disaster and catastrophe. I want to see people running down the street with their heads on fire and being hit by buses. I want to see a bunch of this shit come out in court so we can talk about it and have some fun instead of goddamn watching all these TV shows.
Hey, I just looked it up. Flexingate. The Shad Khan company, the patent that makes him all the money.
Yes, the bumper. He's the bumper magnate.
Well, Tony's done a few bumps in his life from what I understand. But Flexingate Plastics Corporation, the officers listed here are Shad Khan and Thomas Clarkson. I'm telling you. The secretary for the company. Not as secretary like an assistant, but And the corporate standing.
Like the corporate secretary
Jim
or
Barnett.
secretary of the, yes.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Thomas E. Clarkson.
No, D. It's a D.
No, not anymore. It's not. So Thomas E. Clarkson, he's the guy that if anything ever goes down, he's the one that knows where all of the money is buried.
Is he the Beatnik?
He's the Beatnik. He is the Beatnik. Cuckoo-ca-choo. Listen, Tony, you've spent money out of pocket all these years. Now we're approaching bankruptcy real quick.
For whatever reason, you've sang I Am the Walrus in various forms, like on at least 3 or 4 episodes recently.
Well, that's because I'm
you listening to the Beatles? You listening to the Magical Mystery Tour?
No, somebody's got to take care of the walrus, the walruses, the walry. They're very under. When's the last time you saw a commercial on TV urging people to give money to take care of the walruses? They're an underappreciated species that's approaching bankruptcy.
All right. Well,
where were we going with that? But no. So
the
point no, it's not.
Oh,
that's the thing about it. It's completely your fault. But to put a period on all this, we got to keep track of all this and see what comes out in court and the inner workings of all these things.
And what did Thomas Clarkson have to do with Pete Rose? That's another question that has not been asked yet or answered.
No. And we need to get somebody under oath and possibly get Stephen P. New on the case. If Stephen P. New gets to depose Thomas E. Clarkson about the Pete Rose scandal, a lot of things will be brought to light. And by the way, folks, just in case you wondered, you can contact the incomparable Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE, because when he's not busy slapping weasels around sideways and shaking them for change and deposing corporate secretaries about where Pete Rose hid all that money, that he is actively working to bring justice to your situation, whatever it may, as long as you're on the right side. If you're guilty, he's going to tell you to fuck off because he's that kind of attorney, the rare breed. Stephen P. New, 877-50-STEVE. But go ahead, Brian, it's your show.
That's right, the rare breed, Stephen P. New, and newlawoffice.com.